Coming up on UCF Nightly News, yesterday was the 13th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. See how the Central Florida community is honoring the victims.
Domestic violence is back in the national spotlight. Know your options.
And President Obama addressed the nation on Wednesday. Find out how he plans to deal with the terrorist group ISIL.
You're watching Nightly News covering the university community in the greater Central Florida area.
Nightly News starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Devin Cafaro.
And I'm Melissa Lujan. Today is Friday, September 12th.
The Central Florida community came together on the 13th anniversary of September 11th to pay respects to those who risked their lives years ago. But many residents feel Americans are losing sight of what 9/11 represents for the U.S. Nightly News reporter Brittany Jackson tells us how the Central Florida community is remembering 9/11.
It's been 13 years since tragedy struck the U.S. The September 11th attacks completely shook America over more than a decade ago. Today, some people like Bob Moore feel Americans are losing sight of what 9/11 represents. The Daytona resident is a former New York City firefighter who volunteered in New York to help with the aftermath of September 11th. He designed his motorcycle in 2010 in memorial of the friends he lost on 9/11. He believes Americans aren't showing they still care about the lives lost and the way our country was affected years ago.
When I did the bike in 2010, there was a lot of people who didn't remember it and didn't care about it. And that actually hurt me, it touched me about it, because it's something this country and anybody in this country should never forget.
Here in Central Florida, the UCF community chooses to remember the positive that came from the incident that changed our country forever. Two UCF student organizations, the College Democrats and Republicans at UCF, came together to set up a memorial early Thursday morning. The group of students set up this display, paying respects to the lives lost and celebrating the men and women who continue to protect us every day. Student organizers were completely moved by the amount of people who came out to help and told us why it's so important to never forget.
What is really important is that we are all American. So we wanted to show that and show our support and show that no matter what party you're part of, we are all American. We can unite for a special cause.
Student organizers were completely moved by the amount of people who came out to help and told us why it's so important to never forget.
Especially just on a college campus, it's easy to lose sight in the books and things like that, and you forget what day it is and things like that. And it's been a long time since 9/11 actually occurred, so we like to do this every year, sort of like a bittersweet never forget. Yes, it happened, but yes, we're stronger, and we came together for it.
Moore says now, more than ever, Americans need to appreciate what all those men and women sacrificed for us. He told us on 9/11 he couldn't even go into work, afraid he would see one of his friends killed in the line of duty.
I chose not to go to the city because I knew too many paid firemen in the city, and I was afraid I'd come across a friend of mine. I didn't know how I'd handle it.
Here at UCF, the mood is serene. As the university community pays their respect, students say they will continue to keep American pride alive for the people who are no longer with us. In Orlando, Brittany Jackson, UCF Nightly News.
A disturbing video of the NFL running back Ray Rice surfaced online this week, and it's shedding light on domestic violence here in Central Florida. I looked into options for victims and their loved ones in need of help.
This video shows Rice hitting his then-fiancée, Janae Palmer, while in an elevator. Organizations such as Harbor House in Central Florida deal with similar cases daily. CEO Carol Wick says in these situations, people should never victim blame.
What's really important in this case or in any domestic violence case is to focus on not what the victim's doing wrong. Why did they stay? Why did they allow it?
Palmer is now receiving criticism for defending Rice online, whom she married a month after the incident. Wick says this is normal behavior.
They're in a situation where there's a lot of power and control. They usually are isolated. They're demeaned on a daily basis. They are emotionally abused and may or may not be physically abused.
Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence officials state about 20% of all women will experience domestic violence at one point in their life. For the UCF community, there is also UCF Victim Services, a division of the police department on campus. Fawn Bullock, an advocate with UCF Victim Services, explains how someone can help a friend in need.
Being a strong support system for them, letting them know, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here, not putting down the abuser.
Bullock says it is not illegal to stay in an abusive relationship, but it is illegal to commit domestic violence.
Says officials are holding an event on October 6th to recognize survivors of partner violence. For more information, visit nightlynews.ucf.edu.
President Obama is vowing to destroy the terrorist group ISIL. The commander-in-chief mapped out his strategy in his address to the nation on Wednesday. He's calling for expanded airstrikes in Iraq and eventually in Syria. There have been 154 airstrikes so far, and that frequency could double or even triple. The president also needs congressional approval to train and equip moderate Syrian rebels fighting against the militants in the region.
So I welcome congressional support for this effort in order to show the world that Americans are united in confronting this danger.
President Obama called the strategy counterterrorism and promised no American troops on foreign soil. Despite the effort of thousands of students on campus, UCF lost the Victoria's Secret Campus Showdown. The winning school, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, edged out the Knights in the final day of the competition by just a couple hundred votes. Voting lasted from last Friday to Wednesday of this week, including the final photo blitz challenge on Tuesday. Students took pictures spelling out the words pink to earn 5 bonus points. UCF won the pink party last year but was unable to repeat as champions. I was so looking forward to going that this year. I thought we would win.
I know, I wonder who it's going to be because last year was really good. I did actually go.
Well, now it's time to take a first look at our weather. Katie joins us.
Yes, it's been scattering rain all morning, and it's raining right now as we speak. We have a mostly cloudy skies, and it's 87 degrees. The humidity is 65%, and there's a 15% chance of rain later on this evening. The wind is moving northeast at 13 miles an hour. We'll have more on the forecast and your 5-day outlook a little bit later in the broadcast.
Thanks, Katie. I guess that ruins my fishing plans for the weekend.
Oh.
Well, still ahead of nightly news. September 10th was Suicide Prevention Day. Stick around to see how UCF raised awareness on campus.
And Gone with the Wind turns 75 years old this year. Check out how Central Florida is celebrating. September 10th marked World Suicide Prevention Day, and here at UCF, students and faculty spread awareness on campus. They had a Suicide Prevention Week just for the university community. Nightly News reporter Brittany Jackson spoke with the organizers about why this is so important now and what the UCF community can do to raise awareness.
American College Health Association officials say suicide is the second most common cause of death among college students today. After the suicide rate nearly tripled since the 1950s, ACHA representatives say colleges worldwide are now trying to lower this rate. The UCF community raised awareness on campus this week, tabling every day and holding educational events. To Write Love on Her Arms, an organization targeting mental health issues and depression, came out all week to raise awareness on campus and to gain advocates for suicide prevention. They placed flags in the free speech area on campus, representing the 1,100 people who commit suicide on college campuses each year. Jordan McCrae, president of the organization, told me how important it is to raise awareness about suicide on college campuses.
We want to just let people know that, these things are happening, and it's your brother, it's your sister, it's your lab partner that could be struggling with these things. So it's okay to talk about it, it's okay to get help, it's okay to not be perfect, because no one is.
The Counseling and Psychological Services program on campus also tabled and had an event on World Suicide Prevention Day. Volunteers and student organizers passed out flags to students, encouraging them to sign with kind words or names of loved ones lost to suicide in the open field. Peer educator Megan McCleary says getting people to discuss the issue is the first step to helping someone through a tough time.
Having mental health awareness and suicide awareness is so important, and that it can happen to anyone. It can happen to Robin Williams, it can happen to you, it can happen to someone walking by. In feelings of suicide and depression and anxiety and anything, there's ways to manage it.
I spoke to a CAPS representative earlier this week who told me the basic signs of someone who has suicidal thoughts. Some signs are depression, anxiety, and lethargic behavior. Students who are suffering from depression can go to CAPS on campus for free counseling services. Suicide prevention advocates say they want to stop suicide rates from increasing over the next 2 years. In Orlando, Brittany Jackson, UCF Nightly News.
UCF organization To Write Love on Her Arms is collecting donations for treatment of people suffering from depression. If you or someone you know is struggling, visit nightlynews.ucf.edu. Find out how to contact the Counseling and Psychological Services Office.
September is National Hunger Action Month, and researchers from Feeding America say 1 in 6 Americans rely on food pantries and meal service programs to eat. Researchers also say that nearly 200,000 people in Orange County have limited access to food, and some of those people are students right here on campus. Knight's Pantry manager Andrea Young says as many as 400 students use the pantry each week to avoid going hungry.
Because a lot of students on campus are hungry and they feel like they don't have a way to get through the day, and seeing people come in and they're happy because they have food, and that's one less thing that they have to worry about. It really makes me happy.
Knight's Pantry is currently accepting donations of non-perishable food items and clothing.
The iconic movie Gone with the Wind is celebrating its 75th anniversary in a unique way, with UCF professors discussing its impact on pop culture tomorrow at the Orange County Regional History Center.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
For the first time ever, a collection of more than 120 items from the movie are on display at the Orange County Regional History Center. Tomorrow, UCF professor Robert Casanello is hosting a discussion panel about stereotypes in the film.
Most people think when they watch Gone with the Wind, they're learning about the Civil War, and they're really not learning anything about the Civil War. What they really are learning about is the ways in which people thought about themselves and each other and society during the Depression.
So it's such a great celebration of a culturally iconic piece of Americana, a movie that changed the country in some ways, changed our perception of the South, changed our perception of the Civil War, brought so many memorable phrases and movie scenes to mind that people still reference today.
Don't you want to marry me?
I'm going to marry Melanie.
But you can't, not if you care for me.
Oh, my dear, why must you make me...
In Orlando, Katie Callahan, UCF Nightly News.
The exhibit at the Orange County Regional History Center ends on November 30th. For more information, go to nightlynews.ucf.edu.
One Central Florida dog is fighting to walk again. Take a look at this video. Meet Harley, the 3-year-old husky mix. This poor pup was found abused, abandoned, and hit by a car. His leg is severely broken and infected and needs immediate surgery to heal. Harley's rescuers say his wounds became infected during his time at Orange County Animal Services. His rescuers are also asking for donations to help save his leg so it doesn't have to be amputated. They're almost halfway to their $3,000 goal with 4 days left until his surgery. If you're interested in helping, you can find a link to his donation page at nightlynews.ucf.edu. And we've also reached out to the shelter about Harley's situation, but have not received a response yet. He was so cute. I hope he gets his leg fixed.
Definitely. And it's been hot outside. When we come back, Katie tells us what to expect for the next few days.
And later in sports, soccer and volleyball highlights and a football preview. Apple announced the all-new iPhone 6 on Tuesday. The phone not only comes in 2 different sizes, but both are bigger than any iPhone from previous generations. Along with the improved battery life and camera, the company introduced Apple Pay, which allows customers to pay using their phone instead of cash or credit cards. iPhone users will simply access the payment tool by pressing their finger on the home screen and putting it to the scanner. Apple also unveiled a watch. The Apple Watch will only work with new generations of iPhones and focuses on personal health, tracking heart rate and footsteps. The phones are set to go on sale September 19th and are available for pre-order today. The watch will be on the market in 2015 and pricing will start at $349.
UCF kicked off its Distinguished Speaker Series this week, and for the first time, the series is heading off campus. Once a month, a nationally recognized professor will visit UCF and give a presentation on a specific social topic. Dr. James Allen Fox was the first to speak in Winter Park, where every event is being held. Fox, a world-famous criminologist, spoke about the myths and realities of mass shootings in America. He says one of the biggest misconceptions is that mass murders are on the rise in the United States.
So one of my messages is that that's not true, that mass shootings are not on the rise. If it's really only the perception and our fears that have grown.
For more information on the Distinguished Speaker Series, visit nightlynews.ucf.edu.
University Primetime named UCF as the #1 college in the country based on overall quality of life. Florida State University and the University of Florida are the only other schools named to the list, ranking 82nd and 87th respectively. Earlier this month, University Primetime also named UCF as the second most attractive school in the country.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that last part, but I've never lived on campus, but Towers does look really nice.
I've lived on campus for 2 years and I definitely agree. Now let's take a look at our weather. Katie, how's it looking out there?
Even though we've been having a lot of rain, Florida is still seeing high temperatures. Looking at Tallahassee, we've got 90 degrees. Tampa's also looking at 90. In Jacksonville and on the East Coast, we've seen cooler temperatures. We've got 88 to the north. Here at home, we're 87 degrees, and in the south, we're looking at 88 in Miami. And if we look at the nation's weather, what we're noticing is if you look over here, we're having a low pressure system moving through. And what that means is the northwest is going to see a lot of rain and snow, possibly tonight. And then if you're in Texas, I just want to give you a warning that there is a flash flood possible. And in the middle of this country and in the northeast, no rain, so that's good news for you guys. And then in our beautiful Sunshine State, we are looking at thunderstorms. We also have a disturbance that's off our coast with a 20% chance of cyclone formation. The low pressure system is just south of Lake Okeechobee, which means that it will create heavy rains in Florida over the next 2 days. For the North Atlantic, Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, the National Hurricane Center is issuing advisories on Tropical Storm Eduardo, located a little more than 1,000 miles east of the northern Leeward Islands. The storm is moving west-northwest at 16 miles per hour and maximum winds of 45 miles per hour. Nightly News will keep an eye on this storm and update you if it develops. Let's take a look at our 5-day forecast here. We are looking at between a 40 and 50% chance of rain all this weekend, so you might want to stay indoors for your plans. Then we've got some highs of 90s and 89s throughout the week, and our lows are going to be about 72 to 73 as we're moving on. That's our 5-day forecast for you. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Katie. Still ahead on Nightly News, it's been a successful week for UCF sports.
Sports is up next.
Welcome back, Knights fans. Here's what's happening this week in sports. The men's and women's soccer team had a doubleheader on Friday against FAU. Both games ended in late game-winning goals. For the men, it was Romario Williams, the junior out of Jamaica, who scored on a PK as the clock was winding down. In the women's case, it was senior Alex Piercy who scored on a backside goal in overtime, giving the Knights the 1-goal victory. The men play Akron tonight at 7 p.m., and the women are also on the road, taking on the University of Texas in Tampa. The women's volleyball team is starting off the season hot. In their first 2 tournaments, the ladies have a record of 6-1, losing only to Kansas State. The Knights head into the Texas Invitational this weekend, where they look to continue their dominance. Seniors Delana Sarden and Jade Hayes told me, Nightly News, how important their final season is.
I mean, it's the final countdown. Like, it's all or nothing, basically. So every game that I know, us too, especially when we go out, we leave it all on the court because there is no next year. There's no next season. And we really have a big goal to win a conference championship this year and go far into the tournament. So that can't be done if you're not giving 120% when you're out on the court. So it's basically do or die this year.
And just go balls out. That's our favorite saying sometimes. Just leave nothing left.
Now for a new segment we're calling NFL Nights. We'll be taking a look at the most prominent UCF alumni around the NFL and how they played. Last week, Chicago Bears wide receiver Brandon Marshall racked up 71 yards and a touchdown on 8 catches in a 23-20 loss to the Bills. And Blake Bortles did not make an appearance for the Jaguars, despite Jacksonville blowing a 17-point lead. After a disappointing first half, the Eagles went on to win 34-17. That's it for a quick look at the Knights around the NFL. The UCF football team is back in action this weekend following a bye week. The Knights play undefeated Missouri tomorrow and will look to bounce back from a devastating loss to Penn State. There will be a new man leading the team to Missouri. After Pete DeNovo's subpar performance in the first half of the Croke Park Classic, Coach George O'Leary has decided to name sophomore Justin Holman the starting quarterback. That's all the time we have for now. Back to you ladies at the desk.
Thanks, Paige. Well, that's all the time we have for now on the show. Thanks for joining us.
If you have a story idea or a comment about something you've seen here on Nightly News, email us at nightlynews@ucf.edu.
And be sure to check us out online at nightlynews.ucf.edu. Join us here again next week. Until then, have a great weekend.
So what are your plans?